Do you believe in fate? Street thugs mocked a quiet man on the subway, clueless that he was Keanu Reeves, the legendary yet humble Hollywood icon. Little did they know, they were about to get a lesson in class and humility they'd never forget. Intrigued? Keep reading. If this story interested you, don't forget to subscribe to our channel and tell us which city you're watching us from. We'll keep going. The fluorescent lights of the New York subway flickered dimly as Keanu Reeves sat quietly in the corner of the nearly empty car, his worn baseball cap pulled low over his eyes. Despite his fame and success, he preferred the simplicity of public transportation, finding a strange comfort in being just another face in the crowd. The gentle sway of the subway car had almost lulled him into a meditative state when a sharp voice cut through the relative quiet. "Hey, aren't you that washed-up actor?" A young man in an expensive suit stood over him, his voice dripping with derision. "What's wrong? Can't afford a car anymore." Keanu looked up slowly, his expression remaining neutral. He'd dealt with his fair share of criticism over the years, and this was hardly the worst he'd heard. "The subway's more environmentally friendly," he replied softly, offering a slight smile. The young man scoffed, turning to his friends who had gathered behind him. "Look at this guy trying to act all noble. Bet he's just another has-been pretending to be humble." Keanu remained silent, his eyes scanning the situation. 3 more young men had joined the first, all wearing similar expensive suits, their faces flushed from what appeared to be a night of heavy drinking. The subway car was nearly empty, except for an elderly woman clutching her purse nervously and a teenage girl who was recording the scene on her phone. "Come on, show us some of those fancy movie moves," one of the others taunted, making exaggerated martial arts gestures. Or was that all just special effects? Keanu shifted slightly in his seat, his muscles tensing imperceptibly. Years of training had taught him to read situations like this, to anticipate movements before they happened. He could see the growing aggression in their stance, the way they were gradually boxing him in. "Gentlemen," he said calmly, "we don't need to escalate this." The first young man lunged forward, grabbing Keanu's jacket. In a fluid motion that seemed almost choreographed, Keanu stood, using his attacker's momentum to gently redirect him into an empty seat. The others rushed forward, but with precise, controlled movements, Keanu managed to neutralize each threat without causing serious harm. Within seconds, all 4 men found themselves seated or sprawled in various positions around the subway car, more stunned than hurt. The entire incident lasted less than 30 seconds, but the damage was done. The teenage girl's phone had captured everything, and by the time Keanu stepped off at his stop, the video was already being uploaded to social media. Detective Joss Carter sat at her desk the next morning, watching the viral video for the 10th time. Something about the way the man moved seemed familiar, triggering a memory she couldn't quite place. The media was having a field day, painting Keanu Reeves as a dangerous individual who had assaulted innocent young professionals. But Carter saw something different in the footage: controlled restraint, professional training, and a genuine attempt to avoid conflict. "Detective Carter." Officer Chen appeared at her desk. "The captain wants you to handle the Reeves case personally. The complainants are from some pretty influential families." Carter nodded, already reaching for her coat. As she drove to the precinct where Keanu was being held, her mind wandered back to a night years ago during her first year on the force. She had been trapped in a warehouse district, cornered by several armed individuals. A mysterious figure had appeared out of nowhere, neutralizing the threat and disappearing before she could properly thank him. She had never seen his face clearly, but the way he moved. The precinct was swarming with reporters when she arrived. She found Keanu sitting calmly in an interrogation room, still wearing the same simple clothes from the subway incident. As she entered, she was struck by his composed demeanor, not the attitude of someone who had just assaulted 4 people without cause. "Mr. Reeves," she began, sitting across from him, "I'm Detective Carter. I'd like to hear your version of events." He looked up, meeting her eyes with a gentle intensity that caught her off guard. "Detective," he answered softly, "I think we both know there's more to this situation than what's in that viral video." Before Carter could respond, The door opened and a tall, distinguished-looking man in an impeccable suit entered. "I'm Mr. Reeves's attorney," he announced, placing a briefcase on the table. "And I believe we have everything needed to clear up this unfortunate misunderstanding." Carter watched as the attorney efficiently presented evidence, including additional surveillance footage from the subway car that showed the full context of the incident. Within hours, the charges were dropped, but Carter couldn't shake the feeling that she had only scratched the surface of a much deeper mystery. The sleek black car wound its way through Manhattan's streets, its tinted windows concealing its occupants from the curious eyes of passers-by. Keanu sat in the back seat, studying his mysterious attorney who had introduced himself simply as Mr. Pierce. The leather seats were expensive, the car's interior spoke of wealth, but something about the situation felt orchestrated. "Your benefactor has been watching you for some time, Mr. Reeves," Pierce said, his eyes fixed on his tablet. "He believes you possess unique qualities that could be valuable to his cause." Keanu raised an eyebrow. "And this benefactor couldn't deliver this message himself?" "Mr. Finch prefers to maintain his privacy," Pierce replied with a thin smile. "Much like yourself." The car turned into an underground parking garage beneath an unremarkable office building. As they descended, Keanu noticed the increasing layers of security, each level requiring different access codes and biometric scans. Finally, they emerged into a vast open space that looked more like a high-tech command center than a parking garage. Harold Finch stood waiting for them, his slight limp and wire-rimmed glasses giving him an unassuming appearance that contrasted sharply with his surroundings. "Mr. Reeves," he said, extending his hand, "thank you for joining us. I apologize for the theatrics, but discretion is paramount in our line of work." "And what line of work would that be?" Keanu asked, taking in the wall of monitors displaying various data streams and surveillance feeds. Finch gestured toward a central workstation. "We help people, Mr. Reeves, people who don't know they need help yet." He pressed a key, and the screens came alive with information. "I've created something extraordinary, a system that can predict when people will be in danger." Keanu watched as patterns emerged from the seemingly random data on the screens. "Artificial intelligence?" "The machine, as I call it, processes vast amounts of data to identify potential threats and opportunities to help others." Finch's voice carried a note of pride tinged with concern. "But lately, it's been evolving, making connections I never programmed it to make. It's identifying people who seem insignificant now, but whose actions or circumstances will have far-reaching consequences." "Why me?" Keanu asked, his eyes still fixed on the screens. "The machine chose you," Finch replied simply. "It analyzed countless potential candidates, but your combination of skills, discretion, and most importantly, your moral compass, made you the ideal choice." A new image appeared on the central screen, a young girl, maybe 12 years old, walking home from school. "This is Teresa Martinez," Finch explained. "According to the machine, she will be in danger within the next 48 hours. We don't know how or why, but the prediction confidence is 99.3%. Keanu studied the girl's image, something stirring in his memory. The way she carried her backpack, her careful steps. She reminded him of someone from long ago. He pushed the thought away, focusing on the present. "What exactly are you asking me to do?" "Help us protect her," Finch replied, "and others like her. The machine provides the intelligence, but we need someone with your particular set of skills to act on that information." Meanwhile, across town, Detective Carter sat at her desk, deep in thought. The subway incident case file lay open before her, but her mind was on the warehouse incident from years ago. She pulled up the old case file, comparing security camera, stills from both incidents, the fighting style, the efficiency of movement. It couldn't be a coincidence. Her computer chimed with a new email. Opening it, she found a heavily encrypted message containing detailed information about several cold cases she'd been working on. The sender was anonymous, but the message ended with a simple question. "Are you ready to help make a difference, Detective Carter?" Back in Finch's facility, Keanu watched as more data streamed across the screens. Each point of light represented a life that could be saved, a tragedy that could be prevented. He thought about the subway incident, how the machine had probably predicted that confrontation too. "The world is changing, Mr. Reeves," Finch said softly. "Traditional law enforcement can't keep up with the complexities of modern threats. We need a new approach, someone who can operate in the shadows while maintaining their humanity." Keanu stood silently for a long moment, weighing the implications of what Finch was proposing. Finally, he turned to face his potential employer. "Show me everything you have on Teresa Martinez. If we're going to protect her, we need to start now." As they began planning their first operation, neither man noticed a small anomaly in the machine's data stream, a pattern that suggested this was just the beginning of a much larger story. The artificial intelligence had set its pieces in motion, bringing together a unique team of individuals whose combined talents would be tested in ways none of them could imagine. Teresa Martinez clutched her backpack tighter as she walked down the crowded streets of New York. Something felt different today. The shadows seemed longer, the faces in the crowd more menacing. She didn't notice the figure watching her from a distance, moving silently from one vantage point to another. Keanu kept his distance while maintaining visual contact with the young girl. The machine had been precise in its prediction. Teresa would face danger today, but the exact nature of the threat remained unclear. Through his earpiece, Finch's voice provided constant updates. "Mr. Reeves, I've been analyzing Teresa's background," Finch said. "Her mother works as a legal secretary at Hansen & Associates, one of the city's most prestigious law firms. Recently, she's been handling sensitive documents related to a major corporate merger." "The girl could be leverage," Keanu responded, quietly, watching as Teresa stopped at a street vendor to buy a hot dog. The simple action stirred something in him, a memory of another young girl, another time, another life. "Precisely," Finch confirmed, "and there's more. Victoria Hansen, the firm's leading partner, has been making suspicious transfers to offshore accounts. Teresa's mother might have stumbled onto something she wasn't supposed to see." Detective Carter's voice suddenly cut into their communication. "I've been looking into Hansen. She's built a reputation as a crusader for justice, but my sources suggest it's all a facade. She's been manipulating cases, ensuring certain clients get favorable outcomes while others take the fall." The partnership with Carter had evolved naturally over the past few days. Her police resources and street intelligence complemented Finch's technological surveillance and Keanu's field capabilities. She had proven herself trustworthy, though Keanu sensed she was still trying to piece together the puzzle of his past. Teresa turned down a quieter street, and Keanu's instincts immediately signaled danger. Two men in business suits had been following her for the past 3 blocks, maintaining a consistent distance. Their movements were too coordinated to be casual pedestrians. "Finch, we have company," Keanu whispered. "2 professionals, possibly private security. They're herding her toward the construction site on 47th. The building plans show a service alley that leads to a dead end," Finch replied, his fingers flying over his keyboard. "Detective Carter is 8 minutes out with backup. You'll have to intervene." Keanu moved swiftly but casually, closing the distance to Teresa. The girl seemed to sense the danger now, her pace quickening as she glanced nervously over her shoulder. The 2 men accelerated in response, one of them reaching inside his jacket. Just as Teresa turned into the service alley, Keanu made his move. He emerged from behind a construction barrier, positioning himself between the girl and her pursuers. "Teresa," he called out softly, "I'm here to help. Your mother sent me." The girl froze, her eyes wide with fear and uncertainty. The men behind them stopped, clearly reassessing the situation. "Who are you?" one of them demanded, his hand still inside his jacket. "Someone who believes in protecting the innocent," Keanu replied calmly. To Teresa, he added, "Your mother found something in Hansen's files, didn't she? Something about the merger?" Teresa's eyes widened further. "How did you know? Mom's been acting strange all week. She made me memorize a phone number, said to call it if anything happened to her." The men made their move, but Keanu was ready. With precise, controlled movements, he deflected their attacks, using their own momentum against them. One attacker found himself tangled in construction netting, while the other was expertly incapacitated with a pressure point technique. Sirens wailed in the distance, growing closer. Carter's voice crackled through the earpiece. "We're 1 minute out. The girl's mother is safe. We picked her up from the law firm. Hanson's people were trying to get to her through Teresa." As police cars flooded the area, Keanu guided Teresa toward Carter's approaching vehicle. The detective emerged, quickly taking charge of the situation. She gave Keanu a subtle nod of appreciation before focusing on reuniting Teresa with her mother. Later. That evening, in Finch's facility, the team reviewed the day's events. "Hanson will face justice," Carter reported. Teresa's mother had already made copies of the incriminating documents. The DA's office is building a case as we speak. The machine knew, Finch mused, studying the data streams. It didn't just predict the danger to Teresa. It saw the broader implications. One child's safety connected to a web of corruption that could have affected thousands of lives. Keanu stood by the window, watching the city lights below. The day's events had stirred memories he'd long tried to suppress, but for the first time, those memories didn't bring only pain. They brought purpose. "Mr. Reeves," Finch said quietly, "the machine has identified another situation requiring our attention. A teacher in Brooklyn. The system suggests he'll be involved in an event of significant consequence within the next 72 hours. Keanu turned from the window, his expression determined. "Then we'd better get to work." The day's success had shown him that while he couldn't change the past, he could still shape the future, one life at a time. The Brooklyn Academy's hallways were quiet as James Chen finished grading papers in his classroom. The dedicated history teacher had no idea he was being watched, both by the machine's omnipresent algorithms and by Keanu Reeves, who observed from an inconspicuous position across the street. "Mr. Chen's background is fascinating," Finch's voice came through the earpiece. "Former child prodigy, graduated MIT at 19, but chose to teach high school history instead of pursuing a lucrative tech career. The machine's interest in him is unusual." "How so?" Keanu asked, watching as Chen gathered his belongings. "The threat pattern is different. Usually we see clear indicators of impending danger. With Chen, it's more like potential. The machine believes his actions in the next few days will have far-reaching consequences, but it can't determine if those consequences are positive or negative." Detective Carter joined the conversation. "I ran a deep background check. Chen's been working on some kind of independent research project. He's made multiple requests for classified documents from the military archives, specifically about something called Project Oracle." The name sent a jolt through Keanu's system. Memories flooded back, a classified military installation, experimental technology, and a decision that had changed everything. "Finch," he said quietly, "I know what Chen's looking for." "Mr. Reeves." Finch's voice carried a note of concern. Project Oracle was a military experiment in predictive analytics. Primitive compared to your machine, but it was one of the first attempts to use AI for threat prevention. I was part of the security detail. Carter's sharp intake of breath was audible over the comm. "That's where I saw you before, the warehouse district. You were tracking Oracle's escaped test subjects." "They weren't test subjects, Detective," Keanu corrected gently. "They were refugees. The project wasn't just about prediction, it was about control. When I discovered the truth, I helped them escape. The official story was that the facility suffered a catastrophic system failure." Finch was silent for a moment, processing this revelation. "The machine must have known about your connection to Oracle. That's why it chose you, not just for your skills, but for your moral compass." Their conversation was interrupted as Chen left the school building, clutching a thick manila envelope. As he walked toward the subway station, two figures emerged from the shadows. Keanu tensed, ready to intervene, but something about their movement pattern seemed familiar. "Marcus?" Keanu whispered, recognizing one of the figures. "Finch, one of those men is Marcus Kim. He was my partner during Project Oracle." "Mr. Reeves, this could be a trap," Finch warned. "The machine's behavior patterns have been increasingly erratic when processing data related to this case." Chen appeared to know his followers. greeting them with nervous familiarity. Keanu moved closer, staying hidden but within earshot. "I found it," Chen was saying, his voice trembling with excitement. "The original Oracle code. With modern quantum computing, we could rebuild it, but better. No more ethical compromises. No more human rights violations." Marcus's voice was harder than Keanu remembered. "The code was flawed, James. It nearly destroyed everything. Some projects should remain buried." "You don't understand," Chen protested. "I've solved the core problem. The original Oracle failed because it couldn't process human emotion, couldn't understand the consequences of its predictions. But with today's neural networks, that's enough," Marcus interrupted. "Hand over the research, now." Keanu emerged from his hiding place, stepping into the pool of light cast by a street lamp. "Hello, Marcus." The years fell away as the former partners faced each other. Marcus looked older, harder, but underneath the tough exterior, Keanu could still see traces of the idealistic young soldier he'd known. "You shouldn't have come, Keanu," Marcus said quietly. "This isn't your fight anymore." "It became my fight the moment the machine flagged Chen," Keanu replied. "You know what Oracle could do in the wrong hands, but destroying knowledge isn't the answer." "The machine?" Marcus's eyes widened. "So the rumors are true. You're working with Finch's system." Chen looked between them, clutching his research protectively. "You both know about Oracle? About what really happened?" "We lived it," Keanu answered, never taking his eyes off Marcus. "The question is, what do we do now?" The tension was broken by Finch's urgent voice in Keanu's ear. "Mr. Reeves, the machine is detecting multiple approaching vehicles. Government plates. Intelligence agencies," Marcus confirmed grimly. "They've been monitoring Chen's research. We need to make a decision fast." Keanu's mind raced through the options. The research couldn't fall into the wrong hands, but destroying it wasn't the solution. Chen's innovations could potentially help the machine evolve safely, prevent it from making Oracle's mistakes. "We protect the research," Keanu decided. "And we protect Chen. Marcus, you can help us make this right." For a moment no one moved. Then Marcus lowered his weapon, a ghost of his old smile crossing his face. "Some things never change, do they, partner?" As government vehicles approached from both directions, Keanu activated his comm. "Finch, we're going to need an extraction, and Carter, bring everything you've got. It's time to finish what we started at Project Oracle." The streetlight flickered above them as the four men prepared to face whatever came next. The machine hummed in the background, its predictions shifting and adapting to the new variables. The past and present were about to collide, and the future hung in the balance. The sun was rising over New York City as Keanu, Marcus, and Chen worked frantically. In Finch's facility, government agencies had been searching the city for hours, but thanks to Carter's interference and Finch's intricate network of safe houses, they'd managed to stay ahead of their pursuers. "The integration is working," Chen announced, his fingers flying over the keyboard. "The machine is accepting Oracle's core emotional recognition protocols. It's learning to understand not just what people might do, but why they might do it." Finch watched the process with a mixture of concern and fascination. The machine has always been able to predict actions, but understanding human motivation, that's something entirely different. "That's what made Oracle dangerous," Marcus added, studying the streams of data flowing across the screens. "It tried to control human behavior instead of understanding it, but Chen's modifications—" He shook his head in amazement. "This could change everything." Keanu stood by the window, watching the city wake up. The past few days had brought everything full circle. His military service, his work with Oracle, his partnership with Marcus, and now his collaboration with Finch's machine. Each piece had led him to this moment. "Mr. Reeves," Finch called softly, "the machine is showing us something." On the main screen, a complex web of connections appeared. At its center was Teresa Martinez, the young girl they'd saved days earlier. Branching out from her were thousands of potential futures, lives she would touch, changes she would inspire, differences she would make in the world. "This is what the machine saw," Chen breathed. Not just immediate threats, but long-term potential. Teresa's mother exposing Hansen's corruption was just the beginning. According to these projections, Teresa herself will grow up to revolutionize the legal system's approach to AI rights and ethical technology use. One life touches so many others, Keanu mused, just like the warehouse district, Carter. You remember what really happened that night? Carter stepped forward, her eyes fixed on the displays. I always wondered. Those weren't criminals you stopped that night. They were Oracle test subjects, weren't they? And you weren't hunting them, you were protecting them. They were brilliant scientists, Marcus explained. People who discovered Oracle's true purpose and tried to stop it. The official story branded them as threats, but they were heroes. Keanu risked everything to help them escape. A warning flashed across the screens, government vehicles approaching their location. But instead of panic, Finch smiled. Right on schedule, Detective Carter. Carter activated her phone. All units move in. Operation Oracle is a go. Confused, Keanu turned to Finch. What's happening? While you were focused on protecting Chen and his research, Detective Carter was gathering evidence. Proof of the original Oracle project's violations, documentation of the cover-up, and testimony from some of those scientists you saved. They've been waiting years for this moment. Multiple screens showed live feeds of federal agents moving in, not to arrest them, but to protect them. Years of secrecy were finally being exposed to the light. The machine didn't just predict this, Finch explained. It orchestrated it. Every event from the subway incident to Teresa's rescue was part of a larger pattern. It needed you, Mr. Reeves, your skills, your integrity, and most importantly, your capacity for compassion. Chen's computer chimed. The integration is complete. The machine now has Oracle's emotional intelligence protocols, but without the control imperative. It can understand human nature without trying to control it. And what happens now? Marcus asked. Finch smiled. Now we continue our work, but differently. No more shadows, no more secrets. The machine has shown us a better way, working with humanity's potential rather than trying to constrain it. Keanu watched as Teresa's potential futures rippled across the screen, each possibility brighter than the last. He thought of all the lives they'd touched, all the changes they'd set in motion. The weight of his past felt lighter somehow. Mr. Reeves, Finch said, the machine is already identifying new individuals who need our help. People with the potential to make a difference, if only someone would believe in them. Will you continue to help us? Keanu looked around the room. At Marcus, his old partner now returned to the right path. At Carter, whose pursuit of justice had never wavered. At Chen, whose brilliant mind had found a way to make technology serve humanity rather than control. And at Finch, who had trusted him with the truth from the beginning. We help people, Keanu said simply. That's what we do. The sunrise painted the city gold as the team gathered around the monitors, ready to face whatever challenges the machine presented next. The future was uncertain, but for the first time in years it was full of hope.